Welcome to the third class in the Yoga Sutra study series of the Sādhana Pādaḥ, second chapter. So this is how the chapter is arranged. We first saw the essence of the Sādhana Pādaḥ. Then Patanjali talks about the mild form of yoga practice, that is the yoga for the general populace. Then he talks about kleshas, or the root cause of our suffering due to misidentification, which traverses across lifetimes. This is the imprints, they call it the samskara. The imprints are also what are called as karma. Karma pala is when it fructifies, but it's latently there. This is the one which will fructify as janma vedaniya, life experiences and janmas, what kind of birth you take. So that is the kleshas. The root cause of all this is the kleshas. That is what prompts you to do an action, the feeling that you have. We saw the example of Rishi Vishwamitra, how everything was contained, even though he was doing all the tapas. While in samadhi, he was good. But when he saw Menaka, everything was gone. Similarly, Shaubari, while he was doing meditation, everything was good, but he had a deep desire to have a family. And that is what he was meditating underwater, if you remember that story. And then dukkha continues across lifetimes due to these samskaras. And today we will start looking at the most important portion, why this confusion occurs, and about the Puruṣa and the Prakṛti. Okay. So we were seeing the three types of karma. Sanchita karma is the big pile of all the karmas. These are all the imprints that's there in the subtle body, the sukshma shariram. Then there is the prarabdha karma, that portion of the karma which has started fructifying already in this life. That if the fructification happens through this body is because of our past karma. Then there is the agami karma, new karmas created in this life. Okay. So we saw up to 2.14. Patanjali said these pleasurable and painful fruits of the type of birth, your lifespan and experiences. Jati, ayuhu, bhoga. Jati is birth. Ayuhu means lifespan. Then bhoga, these are the experiences. So in the previous sutra, he says, Sati mule tatvipako jatyayur bhoga. So when the root of the karma, that is the klesha, exists, it fructifies as these three: jati, ayu, and bhoga. All right. Okay. And now we will go to a very important sutra, how the wise discern the suffering. That is, even though birth can be, you want to reach the heavens, you want to have good births in your next lifetimes. That's why they do all these puja and yajna. They used to do yajnas in the ancient days. Nowadays, they have substituted it with pujas, a lighter version of this. Yajna means they chant all these incantations, mantras, so that they can attain the heavens or have a long life. They have to have kids, all those things. It is supposed to work with nature and bestow all those things that you're asking for on you. So that was the purpose of the yajnas. They did a lot of that in the olden days. If you read the Bhagavad Gītā, it also talks about all these yajna, japa yajna, tapo yajna, all that. Pariṇāma-tāpa saṃskāra-duḥkha gunavritti virodāscha dukkhameva sarpam vivekinaha. To the vivekin, viveki means one who has discernment, to discern the right from the wrong. To the vivekin, viveki is the Sanskrit word. Vivekin in English, when they write it, sometimes they write it as vivekin. To the viveki, everything is suffering. Dukkhameva sarvam vivekinaha. Dukkhameva sarvam means all this is suffering. Even being born as a rich person. Buddha was born as a prince. He had everything, but still he suffered. because on seeing the condition, the impermanence of things in life, he suffered. So, to the Vivekan, everything is suffering. And due to what? This is very important. Due to Pariṇāma, Tāpa, Saṃskāra-duḥkha. So, it's going to talk about three types of dukkha. Everything due to change. Pariṇāma means change or transformation. The loss due to change. So I will come to that in detail. You're eating some food, and you stop eating, and I miss the taste. I want to eat more. So that is the loss due to the change. And tapa means thirst. Even in South Indian languages, they use tapa. That means thirst for more. Once the pleasure has stopped, thirst for more. And then Saṃskāra-duḥkha, habitual imprints of constantly wanting. You become addicted. So all these are the three types of dukkha's, and it conflicts guna vritti virodhashya. To the Vivekan, everything is suffering due to all these three types of dukkha's, and the conflicts caused by the movements of the gunas. It's the gunas which is causing this. So guna vritti virodhascha. Virodha means conflict. So guna vritti, with this conflict, that's why it's also called dvandva. There's one body wants to do one thing, the mind wants to do another thing. So it's just a big conflict. The body, there's a thirst, craving in the senses. The mind, the buddhi says, no, this is not good. Remember all the stories we've seen? The avijñāta and Puranjana and Puranjani. We remember that story. Puranjani is the intellect. Puranjana is the I, the ego. And Puranjana, once the two are always together. If Puranjani, remember that story? Do you guys remember? We saw that the story of Puranjana Upakyanam. Yeah. So Puranjana and Puranjani are together all the time. Puranjani is depicted as a beautiful woman, intellect. Puranjana is the I sense. Puranjana once said, okay, this woman is controlling me so much. I'm always doing what she is doing. If she eats, I eat. If she drinks, I drink. If she laughs, I laugh. Let me shut down the intellect, have some pleasure on my own. So he goes on a rampage. He takes his chariot, goes to the forest, and there he creates a lot of atrocities. He just kills animals, he goes berserk. And then when he comes home, Puranjani is very, 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 very unhappy. So Puranjani says, she's just sitting and she is lamenting. She is not at all happy with the way things are. And he begs for forgiveness. So guna vritti virodhascha, it's a conflict. The body wants to do something, the intellect says that it's not good. So this is constantly what's happening in the body. Okay. Then now let's go into the three types of suffering. The three types of suffering are brought about by the fluctuations, vrittis, and conflicts of the gunas, the qualities. Gunas are the qualities. So guna is Prakṛti. The Prakṛti, we'll come to that soon. So initially all the gunas were in equilibrium. Then due to the proximity of the Puruṣa, this is how creation is explained in Sankhya. There is a turbulence. So one of them becomes higher. So that's what creates the entire manifested universe. From the unmanifested with the gunas in balance, when the gunas become imbalanced, the whole universe comes up. The three types of suffering are Pariṇāma-duḥkha, pain of change. After experiencing pleasure, you eat a delicious but limited meal. To adequately satisfy your hunger, it ends. You're very hungry before. The pleasure of eating lingers and you crave more, even though you're not hungry anymore. Or you fall in love, the partner dies or leaves, then that's the pain of change. Then the Tāpa-duḥkha, pain due to anxiety of losing the pleasure. You have a new luxury car, you're worried about it getting crashed. Even though you're experiencing pleasure, you're worried about losing it. Okay, that is the Tāpa-duḥkha. Saṃskāra-duḥkha, the pain due to addiction, withdrawal symptom. When you get habituated to certain pleasures, their lack causes pain. So even the perceived lack, the fear that you will lose, what am I going to do if I don't have something? Okay, then avoiding suffering. So heyam dukkam anagatam. What it anagatam means? Agatam means that which is to come. Anagatam, that which has not come. Heyam means avoid. Dukkam is sorrow, or suffering. Suffering that has not manifested is what is to be avoided. It looks like a played, uninteresting sutra, right? Off the top of your mind, you would say, he's saying suffering that has not manifested is what is to be avoided. It looks very bland. Why is Patanjali saying the sutra has to be tons of information condensed into a small thing? Okay, why is he saying that? The reason Patanjali is saying is he's eliminating the past and the present. Vyasa begins to logically eliminate the other two phases of time to show why yoga focuses exclusively on the future. The past, atita dukkha, pain that has been experienced, is already gone. It has been consumed by time. It cannot be avoided because it is no longer exists. The present, vartamana, pain that is currently happening, has already entered the phase of fruition, like an arrow that has left the bow. This is the example they use. The arrow that has left the bow, it is active. It cannot be avoided. It can only be endured with patience. The future, anagata, this is the only category left. It refers to the suffering that exists in seed form with a karmashya, repository of karma. It has not yet sprouted. This is the only enemy yogi can actually fight. So, the example, the analogy of the hunter's arrows to karma. The arrow that has hit the target, atita karma, or the karma that has already been experienced, already over. No point in talking about it. Arrow in motion, prarabdha karma, causing vartamana, present. Vartamana means present sukha or dukkha already being experienced. That is, we are already experiencing it. We can't avoid it. We can only lessen the pain by having a certain attitude. The arrows in the quiver, sanchita karma, the future stored arrows, this is the one we can avoid. So yoga tells you how to deal with the vartamana, the present dukkha, and it tells you how to avoid the future. So Patanjali gives most importance to the sanchita karma, the future, and in fact, by the knowledge, you can wipe out those impressions and you can completely get rid of the karma. That's why a lot of emphasis is placed on that. Okay, so now we've seen how dukkha continues across lifetimes due to the samskaras, imprints. That's what we call as karma. All those are stored as imprints in the subtle body. Now we will go into the important portion, the relationship between Puruṣa and Prakṛti. So Patanjali is going to describe what is the Puruṣa, what is the Prakṛti. So the universe consists of Puruṣa and Prakṛti, consciousness and the inert entity. One is sentient, pure consciousness, the other is inert. When these two come together, all problems start to happen. And yoga talks about how you can train your mind to see through this so you don't suffer. Okay, 2.17. We've already seen the sutra. Remember, in the first I said there are 3 sutras which capture the essence of the Sādhana Pādaḥ. So the 3 sutras are Drashta Drishyayo Sanyogo Heya Hetuhu. The cause of the avoidable suffering is the identification of the Drashta, the Puruṣa or the seer, with the Drishyam, that which is seen, the material world, which includes our bodies. And we also saw the other sutra, the Kleshas, the Klesha Mula Karmashayo Drishta Drishta Janma Vedaniyaha. The karma or the kleshas, that is what they're the root cause for leftover desires that prompt actions resulting in certain experiences in this or other lifetimes. And the solution to this is yoga. How we can eliminate the kleshas is by the practice of the limbs of yoga. Yoganga nushthanad ashuddhikshaye jnanadipti avivekakyate. So this is the entire Sādhana Pādaḥ. Okay, this is explained in a few. In these 3 verses capture everything. Okay. All right. So, Trashta drishyayo sanyogo he hetuhu. Trashta is the seer. That is the Puruṣa. Different names are used. Trashta is the seer. Puruṣa, that's the pure consciousness. That is you. The body, the mind, everything is inert. The mind is kind of a tricky thing, because by definition, it is the subtle body, it's inert. But when the Puruṣa shines on it, it seems to come alive, like a movie theater. The screen is dull, but when the projector lamp, that is you, the Puruṣa, shines on that, it comes alive. It becomes all active and everything. It's as though it's alive. It comes. So drishyam is the seen, as in the material world, including the body and the senses. And heyam means that which is to be avoided. It refers to the suffering. Hetuhu is the cause. The cause of the avoidable suffering is the identification of the drashta with the drishyam. That's noted by the word sayogo. Samyogam means, yoga literally means union. The word yuj, it comes from the word yuj. Yo, the English word yoke also comes from the same root. So Samyoga means complete, total union. Sam means total. So Samyogam is total union, is the avoidables, the cause of the avoidable suffering is the, here you can use the word identification or total union of the drashta with the drishyam. So solution, liberation is simply the realization that the knower and the known are 2 different categories. Suffering ceases the moment you realize I am the witness of the pain, not the owner of the pain. If you own, you have baggage. So that is the, we saw the story of King Chitraketu in this context when I first told that. King Chitraketu loses his child, and therefore he was very, 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 very unhappy. So where did we see that? Yeah. So King Chitraketu, somewhere we saw that he was very unhappy because he loses his child. And then Narada summons the jiva. So the child wakes up and says, he says, come to me, my son. He says, who are you calling as son? The jiva says, I have traversed so many lifetimes. You're just one of the entities I've interacted with, like in a play. The example he gives is like people meeting at a river bank. Travelers meeting at a river bank. We just met. Now we go our own ways. That's all it is. So that then the king gets enlightened after hearing that. Okay. Okay. The mechanism of Samyoga. The Puruṣa is like the face. The Prakṛti is the dead matter. It's a mirror. Face is unchanging. Mirror can change. It can be dirty. It can be clean. The experience happens in the mind-body complex with the Puruṣa. The mirror can think, I am dirty. So the warped reflection thinks it is the face. Or if you clean the mirror, it is sattva. So the clean mirror is sattva. The warped mirror is rajas and tamas. Reflection realizes its true source. It is not the Puruṣa realizes its true source. The reflection, the whole thing happens, the knowing process happens in the mind. Okay, so this is where a lot of the books, they have wrong explanations. I'll tell you one more wrong explanation in the next sutra. It is when the Puruṣa identifies with the drishyam, some text, right? That is not true. The Puruṣa doesn't identify. Puruṣa just provides consciousness. That is you. The identification happens in the mind. Okay. because the mind is distorted, things look distorted. When the sattva is predominant, the mind is clean and you see your true reflection. So the entire drama of coexistence, that is what's called the samyoga, occurs because of the mysterious proximity between the Puruṣa and Prakṛti. The finest aspect of Prakṛti is the mind. The proximity is called samyoga. That's why the entire creation starts happening. When Puruṣa, according to Sankhya theory, when Puruṣa comes into contact with the unmanifested Prakriti called Pradhana, or it's called Alinga in the first chapter, if you remember that, without a mark. So that is the Prakriti in the unmanifested form. Then it starts to create things. Because they're so close, they begin to reflect each other's properties due to avidya. The inert buddhi reflects the consciousness of Puruṣa and appears conscious, like a moon reflecting the sun. The changeless Puruṣa is reflected in the changing buddhi and appears to undergo change, pleasure, pain. Change is anything. The pleasure to pain is a change. The individual is not a third entity. I mentioned the individual has the confusion. So in Sankhya Yoga, the individual is precisely the state of confusion. Individual is the buddhi illuminated by the reflection of the Puruṣa. The buddhi is insentient matter. It cannot experience anything on its own. The Puruṣa is aloof consciousness. It doesn't touch experience. The experience happens at this overlap, a strange overlap where the buddhi catches the reflection of the Puruṣa. Okay. Now Patanjali is going to explain the nature of Prakriti. Prakasha kriya stiti shilam bhutendriyatmakam bhoga pavargatam drishyam. The Prakriti has three qualities, gunas. So look at the words he is using. What are the three gunas? Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. He doesn't use sattva, rajas, and tamas. He uses different words. What are the words he's using? He's using prakasha. For prakasha means illumination. That is the characteristic of sattva. He's not using sattva. He's using prakasha, lightness, illuminance. That is the prakasha. Then kriya, action. That is the rajogunam. It prompts you into action, activity, characteristic of rajas. And sthiti. That is the characteristic of tamas. Sthiti is inertia, stability, characteristic of tamas. Sheelam. So these are the, sheelam means having the nature of the qualities of prakasha, kriya, and sthiti. Bhuta indriyatmakam. And what does Prakriti have? Bhutas, the elements, earth, water, all those. Indriyas, the senses. Then atmakam means consisting of the bhuta, indriya, atmakam, those which can perceive, and the constituent elements, the five constituent elements: earth, water, fire, space, air, all that. So that is the nature of Prakriti. It consists of bhutas, elements of the matter, and also the indriyas, the senses. And its purpose is bhoga aparvargartam drishyam. Drishyam is the scene. So the purpose of the, so again, Prakriti is called as drishyam. Look at the words he's using. Its purpose is to provide experience and liberation. Now comes the crucial point. To whom? Anybody wants to say? So Patanjali says, bhoga apavargartam drishyam. Artham means for the purpose of. So the drishyam, the scene, provides bhoga, experience, apavarga, liberation. For the scene exists for the purpose of providing experience and liberation. Now the question is, to whom? Anybody wants to guess? Is it for the Puruṣa?
I mean, I guess not for the Puruṣa, because that's unchanged.
Exactly. And if you see a number of these Yoga Sutra books written by many people, you will see, oh, the Prakṛti, it exists for the purpose of providing liberation experience for the Puruṣa. This is completely wrong, because by definition, when you experience something, you change. The Puruṣa is unchanging. It is unblemished. That is the real you. But you get this experience of I'm going through changes because of the changing nature of the buddhi, the mirror. Yes, Sumitra.
So it is the reflection in the mirror
Exactly.
that you're talking about, and not directly the Puruṣa, but it's a reflection in the mirror.
Yes, and this mirror and this entity is called the jiva. In Vedantic terms, it's called the jiva. Here, you can just say the individual. For the individual, this entity which comes due to the reflection, when the mind catches the reflection, it seems to come alive. Chittiva bhavayati chittam. It's like consciousness. It seems consciousless. Like the example, classic example in Vedanta is the moon. The moon seems to come, be conscious, be a source of light, but it is just reflecting the sunlight.
And now one doubt,
Yeah.
Is this jiva different from jivatma?
Yes, okay, very good question. These are all Vedantic terms. They don't use that much in Sankhya Yoga, but jivatma is the consciousness in the context of the jiva or the body. Paramatma is the consciousness in the context of the universe. It is like space. You can say pot space, the space within, or room space within my home, and the total space. Is there any difference? No. It is a construct. You kind of divide it by putting walls around. Their space is only one. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mimi, you have a question?
Oh, yes. So I was just making a connection to it, I guess, tying it back to the maybe the second sutra of, can't remember, then the seer abides in its own true nature.
Third, yeah. Tada drashtuhu swarupe avasthanam. Yes, that is this thing. Then when I always put the image of the moon reflecting on the lake. When the lake is quiet, then it abides in its own true nature. Yeah. Is it clear, Mimi?
Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
So, drashta, the seer, the seer is abiding in its own nature in the mind. That's so you have to fill up the blanks. Okay. Now let's go. Why does this universe exist? So the universe has no says it has no purpose of its own. It exists solely for the seer. So Bhoga, to show the individual the nature of the world. Apavarga, to show the individual one's own true nature. Does it mean the Puruṣa experiences? As I said, no. The Puruṣa does not experience. It is not to provide experience for the Puruṣa. It is to provide experience. It exists because of the in Vedanta. So this is where slight differences come in. So I told you right before when we started, Sankhya. So yoga is essentially the sister philosophy of Sankhya, or the practical manual of Sankhya. Sankhya tells the theory. Yoga tells how to achieve this liberation by controlling the mind. Now, I also said Sankhya and Vedanta, they're very close. In fact, they're all so close. For Shankaracharya, he says, this is the greatest Malyuddha that I defeated, Sankhya philosophy. The only difference is there is in Sankhya, the Prakṛti is real. The real world you experience is real. Whereas in Vedanta goes one step further and says, yes, it is real at the experience level. So those who studied the Vedanta classes, like the Atma Bodha and even the Bhagavad Gītā, you would know there are 3 levels of reality. There is pratibhasika satyam, which is mithya, like a dream. And then there's a transactional reality called vyavaharika satyam. Our life, we think everything is real, but this is also a transactional level. It is like still like a dream, but from the level of the consciousness. Then there's the paramarthika satyam, which is there's only consciousness. So even this vyavaharika satyam, all this manifested universe is like a projection. It's like a dream. That is how Vedanta approaches it. Here in yoga, they say, okay, this reality is real. And yoga Vedanta says, yes, it is real at the experience level. Dream, is a dream real or not? You tell me. How do you approach? What would you say? If I ask you, is the dream real or not? What would you say?
Yeah, just that it's like real until you wake up, or seemingly real.
Yes, exactly. It is real. You cannot deny it. These things are called mithya, which seemingly real but not real. It's real till you wake up. It does affect you. It gives you a headache when you wake up, but it is not real. So that is the category all these fall in. Anyway, I don't want to go too much into Vedanta. We'll stick with the mind and how to relieve our day-to-day problems. Okay. Puruṣa is consciousness itself. It is the source of life. Puruṣa does not experience, in the sense when you experience something, you change. Puruṣa witnesses. That is why it's called drashta drishimatraha. We'll see in the next sutra. The drashta just sees. It is shuddha api. It's very pure. It doesn't experience any change. Okay. The experience becomes known when it's illuminated, when it is illuminated in the mind. When the Puruṣa experience happens in the mind. Okay. So another analogy of the gunas to a lamp and the mind. Gunas in the mind. Cognition is sattva. It is the illumination. The conation means intent plus effort, is the rajas activity. The retention is tamas. So the wick is solid and heavy. It is the earth, tamas. That's the example that's used. The oil is fluid and holds potential energy. That is the water element, or the rajas. The flame consumes the oil and wick to produce light. That is the sattva. Even though the image looks static, there is constant change underneath. Conation is the aspect of the mind related to intent, effort, will. That happens, that changes. And it seems like there is stasis, but there is change happening. That's how everything, even that which is static, has these gunas in this constant change. So that's what happens in the mind also. And later, in fact, in the third chapter, the mind, even in meditation, it looks like everything is same, but it's just frame by frame. It is constant changes happen. Okay. Now, Patanjali explains creation. Vishesha linga matra lingani gunaparvani. The stages of the gunas, the evolution of the gunas. Okay. Parva means stage. In the Mahabharata also, Shanti Parva, Anuशाsanika Parva, all these chapters, 18 chapters, are all called Parvas, portion, stage. So the stages of the evolutions of the gunas are going from the final stage to the initial stage. There's also a reason why he's going from the other way, not ascending order, but descending order. Specific, gross, the non-specific, subtle. Vishesha means very specific. Vishesh, special, specific. Vinyasa, the word for those who practice asanas, the vinyasa, the word means visheshanyasa, special step. So vishesha, specific, gross. Avishesha, non-specific, means subtle. Then linga means the mere mark. The intellect, it refers to the intellect. and alinga means markless. So the word alinga you would have encountered in the first chapter. Sukshma Vishayatvam Chalinga Parkyavasanam. The subtlety, the meditation, it goes all the way to the primordial Prakriti. Alinga refers to the primordial Prakriti. Do you remember this? That is now comes a very profound statement. All this, if you're just reading it like this, why is Patanjali talking about all this? It seems meaningless to me, but there is a profound logic in all this. Okay, so I'll come to that in just give me 1 second. I'll explain this and then I'll come to this. So alinga means the markless, the unmanifested Prakriti. We've seen that. This is the state of equilibrium when the three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas are perfectly balanced. Linga means the mere mark. When the balance of the Prakriti is disturbed by the presence of the Puruṣa, the first evolute emerges, and that is the Mahat, the great principle. From this Mahat, the Mahat Buddhi, the great principles come. The Mahat Buddhi, or the cosmic intelligence, comes first. Okay, we've seen that too. And then comes the cosmic ego, or the ahankara. Mahat, ahankara, everything has a Mahat, means cosmic. Mahat means big. So at the cosmic level, Mahat Buddhi means cosmic intelligence. Mahat ahankara means cosmic ego. So we've also seen that before, and I asked you what the cosmic ego is, and Amy, do you want to say who the cosmic ego is symbolized as a deity?
Brahma.
Yes, Brahma. So Amy correctly says that. Yeah. So you have Abhyakta, the unmanifest. From that comes the Mahat Buddhi, the Mahat Ahankara, then the subtle elements, and those produce the gross elements. So excellent. So this is how things evolve. And okay. So why is it called Alinga? The Mahat, the great principle of cosmic intelligence, it's called the mark because its existence is the sign that proves the existence of the hidden Prakriti. It is the mark of the hidden Prakriti. The hidden Prakriti, there's no creation, it only potential. It is called markless because it has no observable characteristic by which it can be inferred. It is a root cause. Then the Mahat, the great principle of cosmic Buddhi, principle of cosmic intelligence, it is called the mark. This and also the Mahat Ahankara, the ego, because its existence is the sign that proves the existence of the hidden Prakriti. So the words are very carefully chosen. And why? Because the yogi does not care about all these extra. So in scientists, they care about the Big Bang going in this direction, from unmanifest, all the creation, everything. But the yogi wants to go to the source. That is why the mark, the word, everything is done for a certain reason. Yogi wants to go all the way to the source. The source is the pradhana and the Puruṣa. So that is the reason it is all chosen with certain words. The avishesha means non-specific, subtle elements and ego. From Mahat evolved the 6 subtle principles, the 5 subtle elements, and so we have the avishesha, non-specific, subtle elements, and the ego. Okay, this totally 6. Tanmatra, sound potential, touch potential, sight potential. Sight is not come yet. Taste potential, smell potential. So these are the power of cognition behind the senses. Remember, we saw that even in meditation, sukshma, the taste suddenly comes, and you even though there is no actual taste, it is the mind replaying. So it's this power of taste. This is the taste potential. It is all in the subtle domain. There is no real thing that's happening. Vishayavati va pravritti utpanna manasah sthiti nibandini. The anchors that Patanjali gives, one of them is Vishayavati. Vishayavat means like an actual Vishayam. Vishayam means content, like a taste. Like an actual taste, it comes. Pravritti utpana, it arises in the mind, and with a nice, soothing taste, mind becomes calm. So all these are the avishesha. These are the 5 subtle elements. From this, the vishesha, the specific gross elements, come from the subtle elements, evolve the 16 gross principles that make up our tangible world, 5 gross elements, the 10 senses, and the mind. They are specific because they have distinct perceivable properties: hard, soft, loud, quiet, everything. Okay. Okay. All right. So in the Atma Bodha, we studied this as Panchikaranam, or quintuplication in Atma Bodha. What is the practical importance? Like I said, yogi is not interested in how the universe was built forward. They're interested in how to go back to the source. Very important thing. And look at this, the stages of samprajñāta samadhi, vitarka, gross objects, vichara, subtle objects, like smell of a rose. First, you're imagining a rose or a mountain or a sun, then the warmth of the sun or things like that, subtle vichara samadhi. Then ananda asmita samadhi, meditation on linga, the mind and the pure essence. The yogi is interested in going inward. So this is the sequence. Stages of samprajñāta samadhi correspond directly to the evolutionary stages in reverse order. So this is why it's important. So the yogi is not interested in how it was created. He or she is interested in going back to the source. All right. So far, is everything clear? Now Patanjali explains the nature of the Puruṣa. Drashta drishimatraha shuddhopi pratyayānupashyaha. The drashta has drishimatра. He uses the word only the power of seeing. Seeing means it witnessing by providing consciousness. So the word drishi matraha comes from the word drish, means to see. As a noun, it means seeing, sight, or as an abstract quality, it means awareness or consciousness. So it is here you have to use the meaning of being aware. So the drashta is only aware of things. It's unchanging. Yes, Lataji? You have a question? Okay, no. Even though it is pure, shuddho api. Api means pure. Even though it is pure, it witnesses the image of the mind, not the reality, which can be impure. Pratyaya anupashyaha. What is pratyaya? Remember this pratyaya? It is the contents of the movie theater of the mind. The movie theater analogy. Remember analogy of the mind to the movie theater? So the movie theater, so the mind screen, the movie theater is called chitta. That's where images are played. And the movie itself with the sound, sights, everything is called pratyaya. So that's the contents of the screen. Okay. So pratyaya anupashyaha. Anu means to follow. It sees along. It just sees what's happening in the screen and not the reality. Okay. So it witnesses what's happening in the screen. Okay. Drishi matraha, it is this the only thing, property of this is consciousness or awareness. Drishi means see, but here it means being aware of. So wherever it sheds light on anything, and if the medium is suitable, consciousness happens. So the medium becomes aware of different things around it. Wherever the Puruṣa sheds light on suitable medium, the suitable medium is called the mind or the subtle body. Consciousness is not a property of the Puruṣa It is the nature of the Puruṣa. The Purusha's nature is Sat Chit Anandam. It is existence, the only that exists. It is exists means unchanging. Everything else changes. Prakrti changes. Puruṣa is the only thing that is unchanging for time immemorial. You have not changed at all. So there's a joke in Vedanta. So a student was very enthusiastic. He studied Vedanta, then job application. So it asks for your date of birth, and he says not applicable. So it's the mistake he's making is while transacting it with the world, he has to use the vyavaharika level satyam. That means he has to know how to transact with the world and not the paramarthika level. Anyway, sat, chit, consciousness, sat, existence, consciousness, and anandam, which is bliss. Puruṣa does not do anything, and therefore, a very important thing, it does not reap the results of action. So let's see the properties of the Atma or the Puruṣa from the Bhagavad Gītā. Aprameyaha, it cannot, by nature, it cannot be comprehended because it has no form, nothing. It is pure consciousness. It is avinashi, it is indestructible. Sarvagataha, even in yoga, the Puruṣa is there, even though there are yoga and Vedanta, the differences, yoga says there are many Puruṣas all pervading. They're all in parallel throughout the universe, and it is shining light through one body, on one body. Similarly, another Puruṣa is doing that on another body, whereas Vedanta says there's only one. There cannot be many Puruṣas. And it's all pervading. Nirvikaraha, it is changeless. The moment it changes, there's something that is happening to us. No, this is you need something that is constant in the universe. That is the ultimate thing. It is called the Atma or the Brahman. That which doesn't, when the whole universe changes, that which doesn't change at all. You need to have, logically speaking, there has to be a changeless substratum. We're going to see that all in the third chapter. The substratum, that which does not change at all. Then it is akarta and abhokta. It is a non-doer of actions, and it's not affected by the results of actions. Because it does not do any actions, it does not reap any results. And then you may ask, okay, who does all the actions that you're talking about? And all the actions are done by the gunas of the nature. So the guna karmani. So, all right. The embodied one rests in the Bhagavad Gītā. It says 9-gated city. In the Puranjana Upakyanam, remember, Puranjana wants to go to a city of 9 gates. That our body is depicted as a city of 9 gates, 2 orifices, ears, nostrils, mouth, 5, excretion, and reproduction. So no, 1, 2, eyes also 2. So there are 7 in the head and 2 down. So that is the Puruṣa. So the nature of the Puruṣa, and also it says, na kartrutvam na karmani lokasya srijati prabhu na karma pala sanyogam swabhavastu pravartate. Neither agency, doership, nor actions does the Lord, the Atma, create for anyone in the world. Nor does it create a connection with the results of action. One's own nature leads to all these agency, doership, and everything. Puruṣa is like the electricity principle. It just provides electricity to the object. In object, how it is wound up, it reacts in a certain way. And the great thing is, because of in the presence of the electricity, this instrument, which is the individual jiva, the mind, everything, can rewind, can change the construct to improve or to degrade. So that is the interesting thing. Okay, so it doesn't create any actions, and it's like the electricity principle flowing through various gadgets. When they and enlivened by electricity, they all produce different sensations. And the punyam is not associated with the Atma. Nadatte kasyachit papam nachaiva sukritam vibhuhu ajnanena vratam jnanam tena mukhyanti jantavaha. Atma does not take on anybody's merit, punyam or papam, sin. Knowledge is covered by ignorance, and because of this, people are deluded. That is what the Bhagavad Gītā says. So, properties of the Atma and relationship of the Atma to the body. So, what's the relationship of the Atma to the body? Consciousness is not a product, part, or property of the body. It is an independent entity which pervades and enlivens the body. It is not limited by the boundaries of the body. The consciousness survives even after the fall of the body. Surviving consciousness is not accessible to us, not because it is absent, but because there is no medium for its manifestation. Okay, so to manifest, you need a subtle body. And in English, there is a constant, this is like a terrible confusion. People sometimes use the word soul to represent a consciousness. That's completely wrong, because then they'll say the soul migrates. No, the soul, when they use the word soul, sometimes can refer to the consciousness, sometimes to the subtle body. The subtle body is what migrates from this, and it goes with all the karma to another body. Consciousness is pervading everywhere. Wherever the subtle body needs a place to reside. That is the physical body. Then in that, with the prana and everything, the consciousness still, it enlivens the subtle body, the reflecting medium. In the Sankhya Karika, verse 62, it says, bondage and liberation actually belong to the Prakṛti, the mind, not the Puruṣa. Therefore, no Puruṣa is ever bound, nor is released, nor transmigrates. It's Prakṛti alone resting on various abodes minds that transmigrates, is bound, and is released. Very important. The buddhi performs the drama, gets entangled in the drama, and finally, through knowledge, realizes the audience Puruṣa is separate and ends the play. Okay. All right. So, the last sutra for today. Relationship between the Puruṣa and the Prakṛti. Puruṣa, the seer, and the Prakṛti, that which is seen. Tadartha eva drishyasthyatma. The purpose of the existence of the drishyam, the seen, is solely for the seer. Tadartha, Puruṣa, for the sake of that seer. Okay, the Prakṛti exists only for the sake of the seer. If there were no seer to witness the universe would not have reason to manifest. It exists because it is witnessed. Nature only becomes the seen when there is a seer. Right? So this actually has a lot of profound implications. The scene, there's no point in talking about a scene if there is no seer. So the scene exists for the seer. How does it matter to us whether it exists if you can't? Something which cannot be cognized is as good as not existent. Okay, that's one of the arguments they make. In the dormant, unmanifested form called Prakṛti, Prakṛti is called Pradhana. Okay. So one of the analogies that is given, the Sankhya Karika verse 59, it is a dancer analogy. So there is the king's court, right? In the Atma Bodha also, the Atma is compared to the king. So let's see if Atma is compared to the king, and the king doesn't do anything. So all the transactions in the court are happening because of these people. The king's presence makes everything happen. Like that, the Brahman's presence makes the sun come up. All those things happen. The Brahman doesn't do anything. Atma doesn't do anything. Like that, in this analogy, the way it is the king is just sitting there. He is witnessing. Then there are all these courtiers, and the dancer comes and starts dancing. And the dancer looks at the different courtiers. The courtiers start thinking, the dancer came to dance for me. So she looks at them. They all get thrilled. The dancer is dancing for me. Another courtier thinks, the dancer is dancing for me. But in reality, the dancer is dancing for the king. And the moment finally the courtiers realize, the dancer is not dancing for us, the dancer is dancing for the king. And at the time, all the courtiers leave. And the dancer also stops dancing, because that's then they're initially cheering, doing all that, and everything subsides. And then the dancer also leaves. So the purpose of the dancer is to make the courtiers understand that she is dancing for the king. So if the king were not there to witness, there would be no performance. Okay. Commonality. Okay, this we will start in the next class. I will stop the recording now.